Hey guys, welcome back to Star Wars Timeline. In today's character highlight, we're discussing Sister Merrin. As always, this video will be broken down into 3 sections. First, we'll go over her biography, we'll discuss her story, then I'll give you her personality traits as well as her powers. At the end, I will discuss my personal impression of this character and what I hope to see in the future. As always guys, thank you so much for all of your support and kind comments, I really appreciate it. If you enjoy these highlight videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Anyway, let's get into it. So Sister Merrin is a female Zabrak from a planet of Dathomir. She was introduced in the original Star Wars Jedi Fallen video game in November of 2019. It came out on all major consoles. She was born sometimes during the Clone Wars, and she was raised as a part of this Nightsisters clan by the mother Talzin, a character we often see in the Star Wars Clone Wars show. She is part of this native force users of Dathomir, and it's an all-female ruling caste, and they subjugate their male counterparts. Those of you guys who know Dathomir, once again from the Clone Wars show, the Zabrak Darth Maul and his brother Savage Opress, they're both representatives of that male clan who is subjugated under the females. She had a childhood friend of Ileana, and together they believed that they would grow up together. Again, there's some allusion of some romantic feelings there, but it's not detailed because it's just hinted at from her past. Sometime 20 years before Battle of Yavin, or before Episode 4, Count Dooku sent his separatist army, of course commandeered by the General Grievous, to wipe out the entire Nightsister clan. Almost all of the members of that clan was destroyed, but Sister Merrin survived. Later on, Jedi Master Taron Malakas also escaped the Jedi Purge, and fleeing from Order 66, he found his way to this planet of Dathomir. He saw Sister Merrin, this young woman who is quite naive to the ways of the galaxy, and he convinced that the Jedi killed her people. He asked her to teach him the Dathomir magics in order to help her out, and he said that together they will protect and defend this planet. He promised his help in return. Now, 6 years after, 14 years before Battle of Yavin, another Jedi, a Padawan called Cal Kestis, also arrived to Dathomir, seeking the knowledge of the ancient Zapho people, particularly the tomb of Sage Kujet. At first, Sister Merrin saw him, and immediately she thought of him as an enemy because she has been brainwashed by this fallen Jedi Malakas, and she immediately attacks Cal Kestis with her Nightsister magic. When she saw the fallen Jedi Malakas tempt Cal Kestis and also kind of appeal to this young man with also promises of powers, like together, you know, we'd accomplish great deeds, we could do great things together, and he tempts Cal Kestis with the knowledge of the Zapho people. Sister Merrin realizes that she has been brainwashed and this guy is no good, and he did misrepresented basically the entire Jedi Order. So what happens as the aftermath, she actually joins forces with Cal Kestis, and together they duel and defeat this fallen Jedi. She joins forces with him, and she helps him learn of the secrets of the Zapho Vault on the planet. Together they discover a holocron previously owned by a Jedi Master, Eno Cordova, who we also see throughout the Jedi Fallen Order video game. His holographic messages kind of lead Cal Kestis on his journey and also to the planet of Dathomir. And together they find this holocron, which has a list of Force-sensitive children, the potential. Of course, they decide to destroy it and find new ways to restore the Jedi Order, but Sister Merrin joins the crew of Cal Kestis and his friends on the ship called Mantis, and together they traverse the galaxy, trying to find new ways to restore the Jedi Order. And of course, we are going to see the continuation of that story because the Jedi Fallen Order Part 2 has been announced this year. As far as Sister Merrin's personality and powers go, we know that she's a female Zabrak. She's not a human being. The reason that she doesn't have horns is because she is a female. Like, we look at the most of the Nightsisters from the Clone Wars show, including Mother Talzin, they don't feature horns. Only males do. She has this alabaster skin with gray markings on her face. From the beginning that we meet her, she's very hostile and she's aggressive towards the Jedi because she witnessed the annihilation of her entire people, right? All of the sisters has fallen to the swords of what appears to be a lightsaber-wielding warrior, possibly Jedi. And of course, later on, Malakas comes and he tempts her and he brainwashes her, he corrupts her mind and says that the Jedi were responsible for the destruction of Dathomir witches. So she spends a lot of time in isolation, and because of that, she's socially awkward and she's kind of indifferent to other people. She's a loner. She practically exists on her own on the Dathomir, completely devastated village, and we get the idea that she doesn't commune with males that much because it was sort of a taboo. Both tribes coexist quite separately on that planet. So Merrin lives a very solitary life, and she promises to defend her homeland from any future invasions. But when she sees Cal Kestis, even though their immediate contact is not very friendly, later on when Cal Kestis gets the opportunity to introduce himself, she can relate to his survivor story very well, right? Because we see in the video game Cal Kestis escaping with his master, the Order 66, and then he is forced to flee on his own without his master, without any protection. And it's something that Sister Merrin could identify with. And together when they joined forces and defeat their common foe, she related to him even more. Later on, she becomes very level-headed after joining the Mantis crew and meeting Cal Kestis' friends, another Jedi, Siri Junda, and of course their pilot Grease. She puts her animosity towards the Jedi aside, she learns to overcome her hatred, and she even demonstrates some sense of humor when she jokes around with Grease, saying that she would need his arm in order to perform a sacrificial rite. It was quite funny segment in the video game. And because of her isolation, she had a very childlike sense of wonder when she starts visiting other planets like Kashyyyk and Bogano. The galaxy is a vast space for her, and it's vastly unexplored, and she can't wait to get out there and see all of it. Very much like Luke did when he went out from Tatooine, and same with Rey when she was forced to flee Jakku. She is very well versed in the Nightsister magic, which is quite separate from the Jedi ways. It also taps into the Force, but also has its own unique properties. She's very proficient with teleportation. She can appear in different places at will. And she has this projectile attack that she uses blasts of ichor, this magical substance that she could throw at her opponents. She also would enhance her Night Brothers' attacks and make them fight even better, more efficiently, and as we see when she sends a couple of them to fight Cal Kestis. She also is one of the very few Night Witches who mastered the chant of resurrection. We see her actually raise the dead Night Sisters from their graves and force them to attack. We also understand that Sister Merrin has a very strong spiritual connection to her home planet of Dathomir, and she's able to talk to the soil or to the ground, to the planet itself, and manipulate the ground around it, which is basically was an interesting aspect of the video game, where she was able to manipulate different platforms so Cal Kestis and her could traverse them. She also is strong with telekinesis, and at one point she even cloaks an entire ship in her Dathomiri magic, which not to be mistaken with Sith or Jedi Force abilities. Now, what was my impression of Sister Merrin? First and foremost, as a huge fan of Star Wars Legends books, one of my first and favorite Star Wars books to this day is the one called Courtship of Princess Leia by Dave Wolverton, where we see actually the first portrayal of Dathomir decades before it shows up in the new Star Wars content and the Clone Wars show. And there, these Dathomiri witches are a caste of females that live on this planet, which is a little bit different from what we see from the video game and the Clone Wars show. There's a lot more jungle there and vegetation, and there are these tribeswomen who ride rancors, right? And they're also very strong in the Force, but they're neither Jedi nor the Sith. It was very interesting culture that was described in the books. So when I first saw Sister Merrin in the video game The Jedi Fallen Order, she immediately reminded me of that book. She was like a perfect fusion of the old Star Wars Legends books and the Clone Wars series, where we see Dathomir, the George Lucas / Dave Filoni's version of it, right? Where they're quite distinct from the books to what we see on the television show, but the video game was able to channel both very effectively, and especially the way that we see Sister Merrin being portrayed. When you see her beautiful robe There's so much interesting details in it. It speaks of culture and history and rituals there. It was just fantastic character design. I completely became enamored with her. And what I also obviously could relate to with her very tragic and relatable backstory, right? We see some of the best episodes in the Clone Wars show was when the Separatist army attacks Dathomir. It was devastating. I mean, Sister Merrin or Darth Maul or Asajj Press, they're not good people at any point, right? They're all villains. But yet again, we're talking about genocide. An entire planet of these female warriors, this caste that lived in their own ways, and they actually did not explore outside or try to invade anybody. They just lived on their own planets, right? On their own planet. The Separatist army came in and they wiped everybody clean. And it's something I could really identify with and say, wow. And she lived through all of these horrible events, and still she was able to come out on top. She was able to let go of her hatred, and she was able to alter her opinion about the Jedi, which only speaks to the strengths of her character. So I thought it was just brilliantly done and very well performed by Tina Ivleva, who is a Russian-American voice actress. I believe she also did the mocap for the character. I could be mistaken, but I believe so. She did a tremendous performance on this character, and I can't wait to see where she takes this character next. Also, of course, it was really awesome to see Sister Merrin perform her Dathomir magics. It was so awesome. It is visually quite distinct from what we see Cal Kestis use in terms of his Jedi powers. You know, of course, there's a lot of visual language and green, like kind of like ether and magics and these fireballs that she creates, the ways that she like makes all these dead witches rise from the ground. It was really, really spectacular to witness in the game, and I couldn't get more of it, guys. So I was really invested with the character right from the beginning because she reminded me of my Star Wars Legends book reading days. But I'm also curious to see where this goes next. And this brings me to the last segment of this video. What are my hopes for the future of Nightsister Merrin? Obviously, I can't wait for the Jedi Fallen Order Part 2. I mean, the first game was phenomenal. As much as I love my Knights of the Old Republic video games, right? I played them back in the day. Jedi Fallen Order immediately became my favorite. I mean, I loved everything about it. The combat system was great. The visual representation, the art style, the graphics were phenomenal. The character designs were so catchy. Cal Kestis and his poncho, and BD-1, the little droid, and Sister Merrin. And just traveling to Dathomir and witnessing it all was completely surreal to me. I was like, oh my god, they're doing it in 2019 in a brand new video game. They're giving us Dathomir, the planet. That is really, really awesome. And I really hope that her relationship with Cal Kestis blossoms. I don't know why. I just see them as a couple. They're kind of like very different. They come from completely different cultures. You could say enemies at one point, but they find some common ground. They've both experienced tragedy in the past. And I don't know, they just kind of look cool together. It's as simple as that. Like the way they interact, you know, at first she's very cold, but then she's compelled to help Cal Kestis because she sees that he's a strong young man and he's trying to do something right by the Jedi Order. He's trying to do something good. And she says, as cynical as she was in the beginning, later on she's like, you know what? I can't stay idly by and just wallow in my sorrow on Dathomir and be completely isolated from the galaxy. I got to stand up to this evil. And I gotta help him out. And that's why they defeated Malachus together. So again, they show a strength of character, a very compelling person that I want to see a continuation of. And I also would love to see in the second video game, or perhaps in other media, the restoration of Dathomir. I would really love to see a period where the planet goes through this kind of healing process. And what if, just by chance, they sort of bring it more in line with the very exotic version of Dathomir that we saw in the Courtship of Princess Leia and the consequent Legends books, where Dathomir is completely different, has totally different vibes. I would love to see Sister Merrin just rocking and controlling like a Rancor, using it as a mount and demonstrating even more understanding of the Force. That would be really cool. But what I also would love to see, aside from Sister Merrin, I would also like to see other books and comic books and video games where Dathomir as a planet is featured more. And we actually explore the other side, and we go back to the Night Brothers as well, right? We have Nightsisters over here, and that's who Sister Merrin is. But I would also love to see the uneasy, like kind of weird cultural relationship between Night Brothers as well. Maybe we could have pull another Zabrak from the male cast and join the crew of Cal Kestis and his friends, or use them in some other way in other media on other books and comic books. But that would be really awesome. Anyway, guys, I'm a huge fan of Sister Merrin. I love how she was portrayed in the video game. Please let me know in the comment sections below, what do you think of this character? What do you hope to see from the Jedi Fallen Order Part 2? And I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks a lot for watching.